With my software, children can have an enhanced learning environment, whereas to make a change physically in the development of a robot, it might take them 10 minutes just to change one gear. Here, that change can be made quickly, and they get instantaneous feedback on their idea. Before the contest, I really hadn't had much of an interest in business. That wasn't really my thing. But in the process of putting together the business plan, I had to read a lot, and I called my dad and I asked him a whole bunch of questions about business, and it's pretty much a lot more aware. It's like, oh, really? You have to pay them that much? You can't just hire somebody, hey, come work for me, and you have to start, and I'll give you a few bucks. You have to pay people good salaries to get a good job.
In today's semiconductor manufacturing world, particle contamination becomes the problem of the decade. My invention of the laser particle remover is direct to solve this problem.
An X-ray lithography stepper is very similar to a photographic enlarger. A mask is like a negative with a pattern that you're trying to project through it using a light source. In this case, our light source is X-rays.
Using X-rays is a new idea. Before, commercially available steppers use optical, visible light for exposure. However, visible light, you can't make the device sizes we're looking for, which is very, very small. So you have to go through to a different light source because the device size is limited by the wavelength of the light. So X-rays have much smaller wavelengths, therefore you can make much smaller devices using X-rays. And that is the way of the future.
The product is designed to help database administrators monitor the performance of mission-critical applications, database applications. For example, in a hospital, you want to monitor the performance of the patient database system so it doesn't take nurses and doctors too long to get critical information about patients out of it. And basically, there's a whole slew of problems out there where performance is extremely critical to the operation of databases, and my software product will help you monitor that performance and tune the database to achieve optimal performance.
So the idea we came up with is a consulting company which would help the average Joe, who maybe is buying their first car or maybe buying their first new car, to narrow down what it is that is really important to them in terms of a car. Basically, we put them in the driver's seat in terms of bargaining with these dealers who are trying to sell them something that maybe they don't really need.
For the past 2 or 3 years, I've been thinking about a way of making televisions flat so that there wouldn't be a bulky part of the television in the back. And I talked to a Professor Tom Knight, about my idea, and he had a counter-proposal to that idea, which was creating a smaller television that you could put on eyeglasses. We combined our two ideas to form my thesis.
And my product is the Frangibolt, and it is a non-pyrotechnic replacement for explosive bolts and other in the general field of separation devices, which is a fairly large and growing market as space technology begins to grow.
There's been a tremendous growth in Unix systems and in X-Windows systems. Specifically, a lot of the larger corporations, IBM, Digital, Wang, Hewlett-Packard, are now all supporting this dual system. What this does is enable a lot of people to have a specific, very powerful system that everyone then will be able to share. The problem, however, is that it's a sufficiently powerful system that it requires an awful lot of support. This support is very expensive, and what we will do with Insight is offer the facilities management to bring this power to a much broader base of users. If you're a corporation with a single system, it's very hard for you to bring on an entire support staff to support the use of an entire computer operation. We'll bring that to you by contracting with our services. Perhaps one of the best reasons for coming to Sloan is that there's a terrific interest in entrepreneurialism generally at the school. Of perhaps 400 students, I'd say better than 10% are interested in starting their own company, if not immediately upon graduation, at some point in the future. There's tremendous spirit and camaraderie for getting things off the ground, and there's enormous opportunity for you to actually not only take ideas from the technology licensing office, but to generate them amongst yourselves, form a team that would like to go start a company, and go out and do it.
The nice thing about the contest was to have a little fun, to expand on an idea, and maybe get a chance to hear some of these other crazy, far-out ideas from my other fellow students around campus.
Probably the most rewarding part for me was the ability to interact with students from the engineering and other parts of the school. Traditionally, Sloan students tend to be isolated from the rest of campus. But with this contest, I felt like I was a part of the entire MIT community.
One of the things I'd really recommend to everybody who's somebody at MIT is that they participate in this competition. In my case, it really refocused my whole efforts on being an entrepreneur again and thinking along those lines. But just the process of going through writing a business plan. If you're an engineer, you'll understand a lot more about how companies actually run. And if you're a business person, I think you learn some of the real nitty-gritty details of how companies work.